Good afternoon, students. In the last class, we started with the third module, and we have seen the different types of memories and memory hierarchy. And we have also seen what is the memory allocation model, right? And once the memory is allocated by the operating system to a process, right? And how the part of memory is utilized for different kinds of data, right? First, program code is stored in a memory. Then it will be followed by the static data. Then we have program controlled dynamic data, which is uh, which is made flexible because dynamic, once the program starts executing, then variables are going to be uh, come into picture dynamically, right? So for that reason it is made flexible, as well as the stack, where the stack goes from the last memory location towards upper side, right? So these PCD data, that is program control dynamic data, as well as the stack, both are flexible, right? So the kernel needs to allocate some extra space for each and every process, right? So in this class we will in this slide we will discuss the contiguous memory allocation. There are two types of memory allocations. One is the contiguous memory allocation, second one is non-contiguous memory allocation. As the name itself shows, it is a contiguous memory allocation is the classical memory allocation model in which each process is allocated a single contiguous area in memory. Each process is allocated a single contiguous area in a memory. That means whenever the program requests for certain memory, right, the contiguous memory allocations, contiguous address space is allocated to that particular process by operating system, right? So there is no break in the memory, right? So let us say if the let us say 1 KB of memory is allocated, and this I am taking I am taking a small example here. If 1 KB of memory is allocated to a particular process, then it will start with 0 and it will end with 1024. So let us see the simple example where 1 KB of memory is allocated to a particular process. It will continuously allocate from 0 to 123, that is 1 KB minus 1, right? So here there is no break in the memory allocation, right? So that is continuous memory allocation, right? So in the diagram you can see there are 4 processes A, B, C, D, which are continuously allocated. The memory is allocated to these processes continuously by the kernel, right? So processes A, B, C, D are in memory in the figure. This is 11.16. So I forgot to name that figure. This is 11.16 figure. In A there are 4 processes A, B, C, D. 2 free areas of memory exist after B terminates, right? So when B terminates, this shaded portion is nothing but the free area. Let us say B terminates its execution. Once it is terminated, then that particular process will be removed from the memory, or the memory allocated to that particular process is made free, right? So that amount of memory is made free, right? So now if one more process comes, let us say E, right? So in this diagram you can see one more process E comes, and let us say its size is very large. So the kernel cannot accommodate E in either in this free area or in this free area. So what needs to be done here, the kernel need to compact these two. Compact in the sense it has to merge these two free spaces, free memory areas. Neither of them is large enough to accommodate another process, right? So the kernel performs the memory compaction. The merging of both the free memory areas are called the memory compaction to create a single big memory, right? So together kernel will compact this memory as well as this memory to create a very big memory, so that it can accommodate the new process, that is E, and initiates a process E in this area. It involves moving processes C and D in the memory during their execution, right? So the address, the starting and ending address of these C as well as the D processes needs to be changed, because it has to be moved towards up, right, before the compaction is done. So once the compaction is done, the kernel will get a larger enough memory so that next bigger process, that is E, can be accommodated, right. So in this case, the other process will address needs to be changed. The size of address, size of the memory will remain same, that is the size of the memory allocated to process D, C and D, they are going to remain same, only the starting and ending address of those processes are going to change. Okay, so this is about the contiguous memory allocation. So in next slide we will discuss the non-contiguous memory allocation, right. So here you need to concentrate on some of the portions. As the name itself shows, it is a non-contiguous memory allocation. The memory which is allocated by the kernel is not a contiguous in nature, right. So one full 1 KB of memory is not allocated. If I take the same example of 1 KB of memory, this is 1 KB of memory where the memory starts from 0 and ends at 1023. So in this case, only the part of this memory will be allocated to one process, right. So and other part will be allocated to some other process, right. So depending on the size of those processes, right. So we will discuss this non-contiguous memory allocation with an example. Okay, in the figure 11.17, this is 11.17 figure. So here you can observe this 11.17 figure which tells you the non-contiguous memory allocation to a process P, right. 4 free space areas starting at addresses C. It is the starting address of a free space area, and what is the size of that free space area is mentioned here, right. Starting address of this free space area is, starting address is 100k, this free space area is 300k, this free space area is 450k, and the last free space area is starting address is 600k, right. So where k is 1k is equal to 1024, right. Now where k is equal to 1024 with a size of 50 KB, the size of this free space is 50 KB, this free space size is 30 KB, this is 40 KB and 80 KB, and the last free space is 40 KB. Now they are present in memory, right. So now let us say one more process comes along. Initially we have 3 processes F, C and D to which the memory is allocated by the kernel, right. So now one more process comes called P, which has a size of 140 KB, right. So but here you can observe none of the process, none of the free spaces 140 KB in size, right. So here free space is 50 KB, 30 KB, 80 KB and 40 KB, right. So if I merge them, then we will be having a total of how much? 80 plus 40, 120 plus 30, 150 plus 50, that is 200 KB of memory will be available. In that case I can accommodate a process P in that merged free space area, right. So after allocating that 140 KB of memory to that particular process, then we are going to be left with only 60 KB of memory, right. So that is in case of contiguous memory allocation, but in non-contiguous what happens, that we will see now. Okay, is to be initiated, right. So in this case, how the particular process is allocated to this or a particular free space is allocated to a particular what you can say process, that we will see now, right. So it is to be initiated in the figure B. So 11.17 B, you can see what is the address space of that particular process. It is starting with 0 and ending at the size of the process minus 1, because the address is starting from 0, right. So if process P consists of three components, right? So now I don't have enough space to accommodate the entire process in this free memory. Either I need to compact all those free memories and I need to create one bigger memory and shifting these F, C and D processes, right? So now that is in case of contiguous, but in non-contiguous memory allocation I need to divide that process according to the size of these free areas, right? So now I need to divide it in three parts. That is, one part will be of 50 kb, one part will be of 30 kb, one part will be of 80 kb, right? So together if I merge them, how much memory I'll get? 160 kb of memory, right? So after allocating 160 kb of memory to this process, we are going to be left with only 20 kb of memory, that you can see here, right? So how that will be done, that will be seen now. Okay, the process itself is divided into three different parts, P1, P2 and P3, with sizes of 50 kb here, 30 kb here. What are the left size? 50 plus 30 is 80. The left size is 140 minus 80, which is equal to 60 kb respectively. These components can be loaded into three of the free memory areas as follows, right? So P1, its size is 50 kb and its starting address is 100k. Then P2, 30 kb, then its starting address is 300k. And P3, 60 kb, its starting address is 450k, right? Here you can observe the starting address of all those sections of those the process P is changing, and we are not combining them, we are not performing, the kernel is not going to perform the memory compaction technique. So it is going to allocate, it is going to divide that particular process into depending on the size of the free area, right? So here P1 is accommodated in this 50 kb of memory and its starting address will be 100k, and P2 will be allocated in 30 kb and its starting address will be 300k, and P3 will be allocated in 80 kb of memory and its starting address is 450k. Now after allocating this memories to process P, we are left with 20 kb of memory here and 40 kb as it is available, right? So now if we want to fetch 51,000 or the data or the code or the instruction available at 51,488 at this memory location, let us say the data is XYZ. So now the kernel has to take care of this address, right? So in which section that is going to be allocated, right? So here the concept of a logical address as well as the physical address comes into picture, right? So let us say, what is the logical address? It is just what you can say, the address is allocated by the kernel. So the logical address and the physical address we will identify with the help of the hard disk, right? So when I open my computer, right? So what happens? A hard disk is divided into number of drives, right? So hard disk is a physical memory and hard drives, right? So to identify, let us say I have divided that hard disk into three partitions, into three drives. One is C drive, D drive and E drive, right? So in these drives are nothing but the logical addresses. So when the user stores something, right? So he will store something in C drive, D drive or E drive. Then the user is for his convenience, he is dividing that entire hard disk into number of partitions, right? So that he can easily identify which file is placed where, right? So but when it goes to the physical memory, the computer system will not identify these drives. It will identify only the hard disk, right? So which is a big contiguous memory, right? So it cannot identify, the operating system or the kernel will not identify the data which are stored in these drives. It will not identify the drives, right? So only the drives will be identified by the user, right? But the operating system or the kernel will look into this data inside the hard disk, right? So which is nothing but the physical memory. So on the similar basis, whatever addresses we are allocating, or the address space we are allocating to a particular process, that is nothing but the logical addresses, right? So the addresses are going to start from 0 and end at 140k minus 1. So these address locations are nothing but the logical address locations. And when it comes to the physical memory, right, so where the process is divided into three different parts, right? So and a particular address is allocated to that part of the process in the hard disk. So this box is nothing but the logical drive, you can say. You can compare it with the logical drive, and this part is nothing but the hard disk, right? So when it comes to the physical memory, we are going to map the logical address into the physical addresses, right? So here, to identify where this particular instruction is, or where this particular instruction is located, how kernel will identify in which part of the physical address or physical memory this particular data or the code is present, right? So it has to identify. Logically it will get the address which is 51,488, right? But physically it has to locate where that particular data or where this logical address is to be. That means we need to map this logical address to its physical equivalent address, right? So that mapping of this address we will see in the next class. So I think you understood the concept of continuous memory allocation and the non-contiguous memory allocation. But in case of non-contiguous memory allocation, the free space of the memories are compacted or merged together to form a larger amount of memory by shifting the other process. And in case of non-contiguous memory allocations, the memory compaction is not done. The free spaces are kept as it is, but the logical address are going to be mapped into their physical equivalent addresses, right? So how this mapping will be done, that we will see with an example in the next class. Okay, thank you.